Good evening. Tonight we're going to meet a very horrible man and a very horrible woman. They're so horrible that when they stand on their heads, they shrink and shrink until they disappear altogether. Oh yes, this is the story of the Twits. Now, this is a story for grown-ups only, or at least for children who aren't easily offended. You see, Mr. and Mrs. Twit were two of the most unpleasant people in the world. They lived together in a big house full of junk, surrounded by cats with missing eyes and dogs with missing legs, all skin and bones. And in the garden was a large tree with a lot of rope tied around it. Mr. Twit had a long, scraggly beard, like a mop, really, which he never washed. And it was always full of crumbs and yesterday's porridge and the occasional fly. Mrs. Twit wasn't much better. She had one eye, a glass eye that she could take out and put back in again, and she liked to frighten people with it. Not that either of them did much except try and be horrid to each other. And horrid they were. Mr. Twit would often wake up in the night and find a frog sitting on his face or a spider crawling into his ear. Then he'd go downstairs and make a big bowl of spaghetti and put it in the microwave. And while it was cooking, he'd take out a tin of worms and tip them into the pasta. Then he'd call his wife. "Dinner's ready, my love." And she would come down the stairs, all done up in her finest clothes, and sit down to eat. But of course she hated eating worms, so she'd pick them out and throw them on the floor. Mr. Twit would pick them up and say, "Don't be silly. Don't waste your food. These are protein-packed superfoods. They're good for you." He liked to think of himself as some kind of twisted health guru. Then Mrs. Twit would laugh, a terrible cackle that sounded like nails on a blackboard, and Mr. Twit would get up and creep into her bedroom while she was sleeping and stick a frog under her pillow. See, they didn't do anything nice for each other. They didn't even smile. All they did was laugh cruelly and play nasty tricks and generally try and make each other's lives a misery. They were also, if you could believe it, even crueler to the poor animals. In the garden, Mr. Twit had smeared glue on the branches of the large tree so that birds would fly into it and get stuck. Then he'd pluck them out and put them in a pie, and every day he tormented the family of monkeys next door. The Mugglewumps, he called them. They lived in a cage and they weren't allowed to do anything except practice standing on their heads, which Mr. Twit hoped would make him rich one day. If he could just teach them to stand on their heads, he could take them to the circus. So it went on and on, this story of filth and nastiness, until one day the animals got fed up. The birds flew into action. First, they pecked Mr. Twit on the head until he ran into the house. Then they fluttered around his wife's face until she ran inside too. And the moment they left the garden, the monkeys climbed out of their cage. And when the coast was clear, they tiptoed into the house and turned everything upside down. The tables, the chairs, the sofa, even the bed. Then they waited patiently until the Twits came home. And when they did, both holding bags of bird pie, the Twits couldn't believe their eyes. They looked all around them, and then at each other. "My word," said Mr. Twit. "It looks like the world's turned upside down." "It certainly has," said Mrs. Twit, her voice trembling. "Whatever are we going to do?" "We'll have to stand on our heads," said Mr. Twit. "That'll put everything right again." So they stood on their heads. But something strange began to happen. As the minutes went by, Mr. Twit got shorter and shorter, thinner and thinner. His long beard became a scraggly little beard, and his thick eyebrows became thin lines above his eyes. Mrs. Twit, too, grew smaller and smaller. Her dress, which was once the color of rust, became the color of old lace. At first they didn't notice, so busy were they trying to fix the house, but eventually they stopped to stare at their hands. They were tiny little hands. Then they looked at each other. Their faces were pale and wrinkled, and that, my little ghouls, is the story of the Twits. Do you know any horrible people? Perhaps you know someone who, like Mr. and Mrs. Twit, spends all their time trying to make everyone else miserable. Well, if you do, why not share their story? You can upload your story to our website, and who knows, maybe one day soon we'll tell it on the channel.